Coming Home Hospice is a 15-bed residential hospice house. We take care of patients at the end of life, but it's residential, meaning that people that come here, they can be here for longer than a few days. Sometimes patients stay a week or 2 weeks, and sometimes even longer, depending on what their illness is. In 1979, the school next door closed. It was the Most Holy Redeemer Catholic School. And this building was their convent. So a nun from the Most Holy Redeemer decided that perhaps the best use for this space would be to actually work with AIDS patients that were on hospice, okay? And so that's really how it began. So she worked with community partners, the Catholic Church, LGBTQ plus communities to basically collect money and raise money so that they could become an AIDS hospice. And in fact, it's the first AIDS hospice in the country. And then in the early 90s, this California Pacific Medical Center took it over. And they started to run this as a hospice, but for everybody. We serve somewhere between 300 and 450. It just depends on sort of the turnover of the patients. Most of the time we have very long waiting lists.
When we were looking for a hospice for my mom, we went to one hospice that was very quiet, very clean. It had just been redone, reopened, but it was very quiet. And when we walked into here, you hear everybody laughing, you can feel the love, you can feel the energy. And my mom thought, I think I like this place. And then when my sister was still with us and visiting, and she told us, if I go, I want to be here. And that's where she came.
For here at Coming Home Hospice, even though they call it hospice, they thought they're just gonna die and be sad. No, it's just like we make sure they're still gonna be happy. They still have to remember the past, what did they do before, remember all those happy memories that they have until the end. So we make sure they're comfortable.
There are a lot of people in San Francisco that don't have the support systems that they need. And so we step in and help take a difficult patient from the hospital, and a lot of times our staff, try and work with that patient and whatever family or friends to really support them.
When we have patients that come in that don't really have a great social support, the one thing that the patient really just wants from you is just maybe just listening to them, sitting with them, and just having a one-on-one conversation.
We try to show the love and the care that is deserving of the families, and we give them unconditional support when they need it.
Actually, I started working here as a CNA year 2006, and then I went back to school and then came back around 2010 as an LVN. And then from there, never look back. I love this job. I have that enthusiasm every morning, I'm excited to go to work, even though, this is hospice. We know what hospice is. I think it's a gift. I think it's not just a job, but it's a calling. That's how I see it.
This is a time of life that can be special or really difficult, and both at the same time. So I think one of the things that really makes a great hospice staff is when the family feels really ready and that they're there at the bedside and they're understanding what's happening, so there's not that much fear. And when you do that and also kind of support everybody in that time frame, what they're left with is, of course, initial shock. But also, as they heal and go through the bereavement process, what happens is that they realize just how special it was and how you can never get that back. And because of that, people write wonderful notes. There's a lady who comes back every year bringing us fruit and a card just to say, my mother died here X years ago in room 101, and I just want to make sure that you know that I appreciate you even after all this time. Plus, yes, they do come back for remembrance services, but they just come back to say hello and to just show their appreciation. I think that happens because you are meeting people when they're very vulnerable, and because of the service that we do, we are helping them through these really vulnerable times, and that gives people a great sense of peace and healing as they try and recover from a big loss. Since its inception, Coming Home has relied on the community and basically people's generosity in order to survive. So each year, we look to donors. We look to people that have had a loved one here, and perhaps instead of they give money instead of having flowers at a funeral, they ask people to donate here. And then we just have people who believe very strongly in this mission. Last year we put in brand new televisions with great cable, which is a huge patient pleaser, and all of that was done from the generosity of our donors. We do patient room improvements or just overall enhancements. That money comes from the generosity of our donors. So we really need our donors to not just work with us for facilities, but we also need them so that we can continue to provide a very high quality service and keep our prices low so that people can have access.